this week.
By allowing snow goose hunting well out into the spring, this extended season produces a tremendous opportunity for those of us who's not ready to call it quits at the end of the regular year. As you probably know, over the last several years, the mid-continent population of snow geese has grown to the point that they are now threatening their breeding grounds in northern Canada. As a result of this expansion, the U.S. government has extended the snow goose season well beyond our normal duck and goose season. If you're part of the migration nation, sometimes the regular duck and goose season isn't quite long enough. By allowing snow goose hunting well out into the spring, this extended season produces a tremendous opportunity for those of us who's not ready to call it quits at the end of the regular year. We thought this conservation season would produce a unique opportunity for us to hunt some birds that we normally don't go after. We hadn't seen the normal number of birds that we usually have in Arkansas during February and March. It was really hard to get on the birds. After a few failed attempts to get a hunt set up in northwest Missouri or even eastern Nebraska, we got a call from Scott Butts of Real Wing Decoys and Mike C. of Pattern Master inviting us to come hunt just as this conservation season was about to expire. We finally got the deal sealed with a hunt in South Dakota. When we got to the field that first day, Mike greeted us up in the parking area while Scott worked a little bit on the spread. We got all of our gear out of the trucks and we loaded it up into Mike's jacked up Ranger complete with tracks and headed on out to the decoys. We're here in South Dakota, up close to the North Dakota border on the prairie, and it's absolutely a beautiful morning out here. Temperatures in the mid-20s, we've got sunshine, a little bit of wind, really good mix for snow goose hunting. Here in late March, we're at the tail end of the conservation season, and we've got these geese that have been down south all winter long, and they're moving back up north. We've got a great spread set out by Scott Butts of Real Wings. Hopefully, we're going to have a really good day.
Well, we got a heavy frost this morning, so we're brooming off the decoys because the shine can really hurt you, especially about the first 2 hours of hunting.
During this special season, hunters employ several different methods for taking these birds. Scott uses a little different approach. Unlike most hunters, instead of a large spread, he opts for a very small spread. As a resident of North Dakota, he's watched the snow goose population grow, and he's tracked the migration literally from Canada to the Gulf of Mexico and back up again. But still, when we got there, we were a little bit surprised after seeing the huge spreads that are normally put out in Arkansas and Missouri to find ourselves hunting just about 150 shells and decoys. Not only does Scott not put out a very large spread, he goes even more unconventional by laying out amongst the decoys, leaning back against the shells instead of trying to hide himself in a layout blind. saw several large groups of snow geese that traded back and forth between the fields to the south of us and the fields to the north. Optimum weather for snow goose hunting involves warming temperatures, sunshine, and a 10, 15, 20 mile an hour wind to allow some movement in the decoys and give the birds an opportunity to turn and work into the spread. On our first day there, we were pretty close to those exacting conditions. However, the wind was just a little bit higher than we would have liked for it to be.
All adults today so far. It's a good day.
As the inventor of a special UV reflective paint called Bird Vision, Scott goes out and paints all of his decoys every year before he starts the season, so they'll reflect the spectrum of light that migratory birds actually see.
A lot of people have been complaining how tough it is this year. Well, actually it really isn't. There's a system I have with Bird Vision UV decoy paint, real wings and 360 air wings. It really will pull adults in closer.
Another thing that Scott does a little different is he doesn't want to get into the juvenile birds in the heart of the migration. Instead, he likes the challenge of these birds, and he tries to stay just a little bit ahead of the front edge of the migration, taking the adult birds as they head back to their nesting grounds.
As you can see, we're harvesting adult birds. That's mainly what I go after to help save the tundra. I chase the front birds, the important ones that we have to harvest, and get the juvies next year.
In addition to Bird Vision, he's invented the real wing decoy, a wind-powered, spinning wing decoy that actually flies above the spread.
Tough one here, Mike. forgot to load my gun and only had one shell in there, so they all got lucky. I let them have that. Here he comes. There, Mike. Nice shot. Ooh. Nice shot.
Hunting with Big Mike and Scott that first day was an absolute joy. Throughout the day, we saw several large groups of snow geese that traded back and forth between the fields to the south of us and the fields to the north. While the hunting wasn't non-stop action, we still managed to take several birds, and all in all, it was a very successful day in the field. As it always happens, day 2 wasn't anything like day 1. Once again, the conditions changed. Instead of having the sunshine that we'd enjoyed on our first day, day 2 dawned gray and cloudy and spitting snow.
Bold as that, man. Wait, please. Now. Wow. Oh, so unbelievable.
It's been a good day. We've had a lot of misses. We've seen a lot of geese work. Struggled through a day, 20 degrees, 25-mile-an-hour winds. Tomorrow it's supposed to be 50, wind out of the south. Still got a lot of birds in the area, so we're going to call it a day early, go in, have a good hot meal, and come out fresh in the morning. Day 3 in South Dakota, and we went from one extreme to the other. Yesterday morning, 20 degrees with a lot of snow. Today, we've got a projected high of 55, but we've got 40-mile-an-hour winds directly out of the south. Could be good and it could be bad. On the upside, when the birds come in, they're going to come in nice and low. On the downside, with this wind, who knows, they may just stick tight. And when they do come in, all they got to do is pop open their wings, one shot, and they're going to be out of here. Stick with us and let's see what happens. On day 3, the sun was back out there again, and so was the wind. From first light, we had 20, 30, sometimes even 40-mile-an-hour winds. This time, the wind was a whole lot more than we'd actually hoped for. She fell!
Oh, there's a blue, see him? Right, the blue.
It was a lot of fun hanging out in the field with Mike and Scott. And for me, it was really cool to get to learn from this guy who knows so much about these snow geese and the way that they migrate back and forth.
I do have a system. It's an easy system. It consists of a couple hundred decoys. It all depends on wind speed. When I have the wind, I'm flying real wings. Snow geese, I like to fly about a dozen of them clumped up, solid in the center. When I don't have the wind, I go to the 360 air wings, but I do the same thing. I clump them up, keep them together, and I make sure my paint is all consistent on all decoys. I keep them fresh. About every other year, I repaint them. A lot of people this year, especially this year, are saying how tough the bird is to kill this year. Well, that's really not the case. It's just we're not educated enough. It's the same bird we have every year. You just have to change your ways you hunt them. That's all it is. Another thing that I think would help us in this sport is too many guys are relying on these electronic calls. They turn them on, they leave them on all day, and they're actually just educating the bird. They have to leave that call off until they see snow geese. It would really help these geese decoy easier for everybody. If you use the system that I'm talking about, I guarantee you will see more success. Just by repainting your full bodies, your shell decoys, anything you have, just keep it consistent. Give me a call, I'll help you out on that, and I guarantee you'll harvest more birds.
We got to take a lot of neat things away from this hunt. This extended season produces a great opportunity for the die-hard waterfowler who's not ready to call it quits at the end of the regular year. In addition to being a lot of fun, on this trip we got to meet two really neat guys who both enjoy what they do and believe in this conservation season and try to make the most of it. Originally, the conservation order was set up to reduce the population of mid-continent snow geese, and both of these guys are making their best effort to work toward that goal, and that helps make them an essential part of the migration nation.
Want to join the Migration Nation? Go to drakesmigration.com to find out how.